Are you troubled by strange noises?
Came out a six-foot black silhouette of a cowboy with a cowboy hat. He had a chevron.
You said there's lights in the sky?
Yeah, there's 4 lights. It's moving real slow up in the sky. Ain't making no noise.
It's showtime.
The Emit Blackwell Show, probing into the deepest parts of the web to find the most chilling, intriguing, and captivating paranormal stories ever. Hi, this is Emit Blackwell, and I am here with world traveler and author Keith Brendan. He has written The Lost Universe, and we're talking about this right now because it's an amazing topic. Reaching the edge of the universe in exploration. So, Keith, how you doing out there?
Oh, hi, Emit. I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. So, tell me a little bit about this Lost Universe book that you wrote. Where did you get the inspiration for this?
Well, the inspiration comes from a lot of reading of science fiction and fantasy, and I'm a big fan of Star Wars, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I decided that I wanted to write my own story, and I was always into space travel and aliens, UFOs and all the thing. And slowly, I just started to write my story a couple of years ago, and about 2 years, I ended up having the story, actually.
Wow. So now you do travel the world. You're currently where?
I am in the UK.
Okay.
I settled down in the UK about 10 years ago, roughly.
Wow. Okay. So, and then, like, in your travels, what were you doing that kind of allowed you to travel?
Well, the story goes back to my childhood a little bit because I always wanted to travel. I never really was a kind of like settle down and just stay in one place. And when I was about 20 years old, possibly came to learn a bit of hospitality, a bit waitering. And then shortly after, I joined my first cruise line, which was Disney Cruise Line, and I've been a waiter there. And I had to flew from Hungary to Orlando, and then I joined the ship, and we were sailing all around the Bahamas and Key West and all that area.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So, tell me a little bit. So, tell me a little bit about the premise of the Lost Universe series. What is this series about?
Well, not exposing too much of the story. Basically, we are getting invited by the aliens around year 2000, and we are given the task that if we can build a spaceship that's good enough to travel in hyperspace for about a couple of years, then we can get to a certain coordinates that is given to us by the aliens. Then we are allowed to join the sort of galactic council and join the aliens and be a new race in the whole history.
Wow. So basically they're testing us in this story, right?
Indeed, if we are good enough and high enough in technology to make it, to be a space civilization.
I like that premise too. And you've got some good characters in here. What's one of the main characters that you have?
The main character, which is my favorite, is the gray alien called Takara, who is the ambassador of the whole Galactic Council, basically. Mm-hmm. For some reason, she became my favorite character. She's a really cool kick-ass, if I may use that expression, holding all the leashes together and holding together the galaxy, basically.
Wow. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at an excerpt of your story, and then we'll come back and take a look at some more parts of this story. What we're going to do is we're going to read, and if anybody wants to buy this book, it is on Amazon. Look up Lost Universe by Keith Brendan, and you can go ahead and check out this particular chapter on there. So hopefully we will be able to have some people check this out and see what their opinions are about it. What we're going to do is we're going to read chapter 14. And Keith, could you do me a favor and just kind of set this up? What's going on in chapter 14 right before it begins?
All right. So basically, the humans who traveled to the end of the universe and now basically joined the Alien Alliance. One of the main characters, the leader called Captain Patrick, has been kidnapped and cloned. And obviously, I don't want to expose too much again of the story, but now he's back, and they are getting a bit of a backstory from the Ambassador Takara, why he was cloned and what really happens. Why basically they're getting the first glimpse of why they are really there, why we were invited there.
All right, that's amazing. And without further ado, here is Chapter 14.
I'm very happy to see you back here unharmed, Captain Patrick. Believe me, that is the absolute truth.
The humans had been summoned to a meeting in the ambassador's palatial offices. Josh, Vanessa, and Kathy looked at the ambassador in amazement.
Back from where? He was with us all the time.
Patrick looked at his crew with a grim expression. For the past few days, I've been elsewhere.
But,
Vanessa began, a clone was in my place.
What the hell? What's this all about?
Josh groaned. Vanessa went cold inside. For the past few days, she had shared her bed with someone who was not her husband. It was unthinkable. She hung her head, ashamed, even though she had no means of knowing about the switch. The clone was Patrick in every respect, even in bed. The ambassador looked around at the humans.
Captain Patrick was kidnapped during the dinner hosted in honor of your arrival. He was copied and replaced by a clone that was exactly like him in all respects. Behavior, personality, everything. But it was not him. There was no way you three could know this.
So where's the clone now? Vanessa blurted out.
Locked up in a sleeping state.
Vanessa's mind was in turmoil. She felt inexplicably guilty, and yet, did she really have any reason to? She had never been unfaithful to Patrick, and had no intention of ever doing so. Despite this, she had made love to another man, and an alien at that. At that moment, she desperately wanted to hold Patrick in her arms and tell him everything. On the other hand, she wondered whether she should rather tell him nothing. Kathy spoke up.
But how?
Patrick brusquely cut across her. Ambassador, you owe us a full explanation. If you expect us to cooperate with your plans for our future, I suggest you stop treating us like backward children. Decorah sighed and gathered her thoughts.
Yes, I suppose you do have the right to know the truth. We have been holding back on telling you everything in order to allow you to settle into what must surely be a completely new way of life for you. That, as well as the traumatic loss of your entire civilization, seemed to us to be quite enough for you to digest at this state. I will begin by saying that the Federation was founded because of you humans. We never told the thousands of different races the real reason for forming the Alliance, but ultimately we believe that finally everyone's lives will be changed for the better.
Vanessa frowned.
But how can we be the founders of a federation we've never heard of? And what makes us so special that it's founded for us? It doesn't make any sense at all. Good question, Vanessa. I cannot give you a complete answer because, to be honest, I do not know it all myself. What I can tell you is that you are not the authors, but you are the keepers of a secret that affects every single being in the universe. The data was given to you, but deeply implanted in your subconscious. There is an ancient prophecy behind all of this which began hundreds of thousands of your years ago. And why is this so important to you? Kathy wanted to know.
Decorah sighed.
You humans may not be so technically advanced, but there is nothing wrong with your logic. What are the age-old questions that everyone wants to know? Who are we? Where are we from? And why are we here at all?
Josh raised an eyebrow and looked skeptical.
I see you are surprised, Josh. I am sure you thought that a race as advanced as us knows everything, did you not? Well, it is not that way. Socially, technically, and culturally, we are indeed very advanced, and I can state categorically that we have become the strongest, most dominant race in the galaxy. Everyone is constantly looking to get into our good graces, to have an alliance with us, but one of the many things we never found out is where do we come from? The ambassador certainly had the human's attention. Patrick realized that it was fundamental to all living creatures to pose such elemental questions. They were questions that had never been satisfactorily answered, certainly not by the human race, and now it seemed as though this was true of the ambassador and her advanced people as well. We put our top scientists and great thinkers to work to find the answers. Our race has two major species, the greens and the blacks, with a smaller group like me, the greys. Unknown by you, we regularly visited you on Earth and under hypnosis or drugs, did experiments on hundreds of your people at different points in your history of your world. The greys are smaller in number, but are the more peace-loving section of our race. We also visited you to try to repair the damage done by our brothers. The greens and the black were guilty of kidnapping, surgical experiments, enforced memory changes, and so on. Patrick and his crew looked at each other wide-eyed. But I'm getting off subject. There was a dead silence in the room. The minds of each of the humans were racing as they listened to the ambassador. Our scientists knew that our race has been wandering from world to world over many millennia. A few religious leaders, as well as the scientists, dedicated their lives to try to discover our origins. As our race has greater longevity than most, they had the time to execute the research. They traveled from world to world, sending back regular reports about their discoveries. Their conclusions were startling, and in many ways distressing. My race is not akin to any other, and nor has it ever been. Our genes are completely different from everyone else. They finally discovered that we do not belong in this universe. We never did. The humans looked at her amazed. Then, with a frown, Patrick spoke up. Forgive me, Ambassador, but how does this affect us? It may sound selfish, but you'll understand we're all feeling pretty fragile right now. The human race has suddenly been reduced from 15 billion to just 4 people overnight. Some understanding of what has happened would perhaps give us some relief. Decorah nodded again, sympathetically. Your feelings must be somewhat similar to our reaction when we were told that we simply do not belong to this universe. But we have no idea how to get out of it. However, our scientists also found something that surpassed their wildest imagination, far off in deep space. Light years away, from any galaxy, there was a planet in the middle of nowhere. Based on our scientists' reports, it has its own light emanating from it. One moment they were on their ship, and in another moment they were teleported onto this planet in a palatial building of unfamiliar design and architecture. An unknown being was waiting for them. He called himself Uldathor, meaning forever God. His features and size changed from moment to moment to represent all of the known races in the universe. He told our people he had been waiting for them for a very long time. He expressed the hope that they were ready to return to a place called home. He gave them a scroll and wished them farewell. Then he disappeared completely, and our scientists found themselves back in the ship. After they studied the scroll, well, that led to the best way to put it, to a religious war across the galaxy. After the content of the scroll became known, endless arguments and unrest took place across the worlds. It shook the basis of many religions and beliefs because, according to the scroll, every race originated from one place, a place called home. I guess the scroll didn't reveal the location of this place, Josh commented. No, Josh, it did not. Decorah answered. Her face became increasingly animated as she spoke. But it did tell us a whole lot more. Amongst the many things it told us, perhaps the most important point is that any of us can only return home if we deserve it and we no longer pose a threat to home and to our ancestors to whom we are returning. They looked at Decorah and then at one another, dumbfounded. This means you've been exiled? Kathy asked. For some reason, yes, my dear. And how do we fit into the picture? Patrick asked. I will tell you that as well in a minute, said the ambassador. The scroll also included a riddle. If we are able to find one race in the universe that unknowingly possesses the information that leads us home and we prove to be worthy, then we can come home and be part of our own world again. Vanessa sniggered in disbelief. You're not suggesting that the human race is the key to all this?
Patrick joined in. Yes, please explain what you mean.
Our scientists invested a tremendous amount of work in translating and understanding the scroll. This way, they discovered that our ancestors, as punishment for the wars they caused, genetically created a race that was primitive by all standards, excuse me for the choice of words, and planted the information deep into the subconscious mind. Then they hid the race in a remote part of the galaxy in order to find it harder to discover you, and the secret of our origins.
What a load of rubbish. I don't believe a word of it, Josh blurted out. So, I guess you want to test us? Patrick asked.
I won't let you mess with my brain, Vanessa added.
Decorah calmly waited for them to express their initial reactions before replying.
We have already performed a few tests. When you first arrived, the Master of the Universe ordered them.
Vanessa folded her arms and looked at the ambassador angrily.
Who's the Master? He is a member of a highly intelligent and powerful group who are trying to put order into the universe.
And did you find anything? Vanessa asked.
No. This knowledge is obviously hidden very deep in your minds.
How did you find us in the first place? Kathy wanted to know.
According to your history, Decorah considered her reply carefully. After your Roman Empire was at its height, one of our scout ships somehow got lost and landed on your planet. They mapped out your world and then sent back reports about the newly discovered planet. The report went through the proper channels, and the rest you know.
Decorah looked at the humans as they digested what she had said, and then she added,
In that period of your world's development, it would have been impossible to make a proper contact with you, humans, and find a way for your people to understand what had been done.
Josh laughed bitterly. I guess Julius Caesar would have had a heart attack if he saw one of you. No insult intended, Ambassador.
Decorah laughed. None taken.
Patrick rolled his eyes.
The scout team studied you thoroughly, and very much favored what you did with one of your fruits, the grape.
The crew chuckled. The idea of an alien scout ship getting drunk on earth wine bordered on absurd. So, you brought us here to solve the riddle left with us, and then you intend to return home, Patrick stated.
Well, yes, at least those who are found worthy of returning. And what about us? Kathy wanted to know.
Decorah was reluctant to answer, but finally replied,
That's why we found a suitable planet for you. Once we have found the answers we are looking for, we will leave you in peace to recreate your race.
Patrick looked at her confused. So, what was the point of being kidnapped?
Unfortunately, word about the existence of the scroll has spread. The group that kidnapped you, Captain, are seeking power and riches for themselves. They see you and your crew as a way of achieving control over the rest of us. Those of us who want to protect you in order to obtain the secrets and return home see it differently. The Federation may not last much longer, perhaps just a few hundred, maybe 2,000 years at most.
So we're just pawns in a game? Josh muttered angrily.
Decorah shook her head. You are much more important than that. If we are able, with your help, to get home, we believe that we can be part of a movement that will allow all universes to step into a new age of existence on a much higher level.
So, what do you want from us now? More tests? Patrick asked.
No, Captain. We will give you all the data we have up to this point, and we will ask you to help us solve the riddle for us to get home. Or at least, for us to go there and see what awaits us.
Vanessa broke in impatiently.
You still didn't tell us how come your race doesn't belong in this universe. As well as our scientists could figure out from notes we had extracted from the scroll, our race has been wandering in space for a long time, but has never found out the whole truth.
Or you just didn't want to tell us, she thought. Patrick looked into the distance for a moment. We need to discuss this between ourselves.
Understood, Captain, the ambassador replied. Take all the time you need.
What are you going to do about my clone? Patrick asked.
All of his memories of his brief time as you will be erased. He will be given new ones, and his face will be genetically modified in order to fit into a new environment. He will have no recall about you at all.
Patrick sighed. We would like to retire now, if you don't mind, Ambassador. Speaking personally, I've had a very long day.
Of course. Have some rest. We'll meet again tomorrow.
The humans trooped out of the ambassador's office and returned to their quarters. Josh looked at his captain grimly. I still can't believe this nonsense about us. Why would we be the chosen race? This is just getting crazier by the minute. What do you think, boss? Patrick shrugged and let out a long sigh. I've damn well had enough of all of this, and I desperately need some sleep. But we have to discuss the whole thing now. These creatures are making decisions which affect us directly, without consulting us first.
Because they see us as an inferior species.
Kathy was outraged.
Do you believe what Decorah says?
She asked. More or less, but I'm sure there are plenty of things she's still withholding.
Such as?
Vanessa asked. I'm not sure. Decorah seems to be the heart and the soul of this Federation. Everything is channeled through her as far as I can see. We humans seem to be the key to their future, and I'm sure that the destruction of Earth was not an accident. Why do you say that? Josh wanted to know. Just intuition. The guys that kidnapped me talk quite a bit. They see us as a chosen but nevertheless primitive race. Now that I'm starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, the picture is getting clearer. They're after power, nothing else, and it seems that we're the key to it, but they don't want to share the rewards with an inferior race, such as us. They want to keep it to themselves, and they definitely don't want the ambassador and her lot to be in control. The faces of the other three registered dismay. So my answer is, yes, we're directly involved, like it or not. At the very least, I'd like us to take our revenge on whoever destroyed Earth and all who died there. I swear that I won't rest until we get to whoever had pulled the trigger. When we find them, I want them to regret the day they treated us humans as beings of no consequence. Okay, and we're back. Keith, that was amazing. It's very detailed.
Glad to hear it.
I really like it. So, now, as far as this book goes, this is one of the other books that you've actually written. What's the newest one that you've written is about a vampire?
Yeah, it's a vampire fantasy called the Nathan Derrick, The Lost Vampire.
Okay. So, you know what I'd like to do on that, Keith? I'd like to go ahead and bring you back on that one. We're going to talk more about the Lost Universe because this is such an immersive world that you have. And actually, some of your readers who have already bought this have already said how they feel about this series. And let me go ahead and read a couple of your reviews here.
Oh, thank you.
It says, I opened this book one early evening just to try it out and couldn't stop until I finished it in the morning. Author created a whole sci-fi universe very much like Star Trek, but still original and interesting. The plot, while wasn't complicated or surprising, caught my attention and kept me reading until the last page. This was an easy book for those times when you don't want to read an overcomplicated storyline with twists and turns and just relax with a nice and original sci-fi adventure. Looking forward to the sequel. That got you 5 stars right there. It says nice and easy sci-fi story, which, in reality, that's kind of the best thing because some of the worlds that people get immersed into, you've got 12 books of a series, and they're explaining so much within each book that it's hard to keep up. You got a 1,200-page book. So, yeah, and it can happen.
I agree.
And in reading it, too, it does kind of flow really nicely. It gives out the information when it needs to be there. It keeps a little bit secret, so in that way it keeps that reader glued to the pages, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, let me read another review that we have here.
Sure.
This one says, set in the future, this is a really easy read sci-fi book where the story flows easily, just like I said. The story revolves around a specialist crew, with Captain Patrick leading them from Earth to investigate the edge of the universe, but what they encounter isn't what they expect. The story moves quickly, and after a few pages you begin to feel immersed in the plot. The characters have enough detail to picture and relate to them. The author moves the story of the crew and the battles in space quickly, so it leads to a quick action, pretty good sci-fi book. The book has elements of sci-fi films and stories that I grew up on, such as Star Wars, Star Trek, and Babylon 5, since there is a Federation and a universe criminal organization trying to destroy it. I found myself quickly being drawn into the book, such as I couldn't put it down. I finished it in the morning, and I am looking forward to the next installment in the story. Overall, if you like sci-fi, then this is worth a read, and whilst it isn't the most taxing book, it is certainly enjoyable. Surprisingly, I am looking forward to the next installment in the series. The book can be read by young children and adults alike. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to ask you, Keith, so what do you have planned for the next book?
Well, let me put it this way. The first book was really to introduce the characters and the story itself, what we are getting into. I'm planning to have another 2 or 3, another book on the story, and it's going to get a lot more exciting and a lot more fights and a lot more thing. Obviously, I don't want to expose too much, but we're going to meet with the Galactic Mafia, that's for sure.
Oh, cool.
In detail, and that's going to be hopefully awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I do enjoy talking to you on this, Keith. And what we're going to do is, I know that you do have another book coming out, or that is out, that vampire series. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually talk to you on that one as well. But
sure.
As far as this goes, is there anything that you would like to tell a new author out there who is trying to get started?
Yeah. Start it, whatever idea you have or they have, and write a book. So simple as that. There's not much complication in writing the book. And as far as I came to publishing it, it seemed it's going to be like a struggling and battles back and forth. No, it's a simple thing, but it's time consuming, and you have to sacrifice a lot of time, that's for sure, to make it happen. But it can be done.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for being here on the Emit Blackwell Show. You can find your book on Amazon.com, and that is Lost Universe by Keith Brendan. I will go ahead and put the link in the description of the YouTube video. And once again, Keith, thank you so much for writing the book in the first place, and also for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. And there we go. There's another author here on the Emit Blackwell Show. Once again, very amazing, very good storytelling, not too complicated, which is nice for somebody who may be just getting an introduction into the sci-fi world, and this one is a pretty good one. Thank you very much for joining us here on the on the Emit Blackwell Show, Keith. Thank you so much. You have a great night, okay?
Thank you, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, and we are back again. That's amazing. We have a couple of authors here are working really hard at trying to get their stories out, and I hope you enjoyed the excerpt. I know I did. And I would once again like to thank everybody for joining us here on the Emit Blackwell Show. You have a great day and a good night. And keep on writing, keep on reading.
Are you troubled by strange noises?
Came out a 6-foot black silhouette of a cowboy with a cowboy hat. He had a duster on.
You said there's lights in the sky?
Yeah, there's 4 lights. It's moving real slow. Real slow.
It's showtime.
The Emit Blackwell Show, diving into the creative minds of sci-fi, horror, fantasy, and paranormal authors. Their fantasy is all